Hi guys, I'm October, but you can call me Toby. Thanks for coming to spend some time with me today. I was really inspired recently watching my husband play Hollow Knight Silksong, and I want to create a little creature that I saw in that game. It jumped up to attack him in one of the areas. I thought I saw one thing, turns out that wasn't what it was. But let's jump into it and I'll tell you more about it while I sketch it up. Materials for this project. I'll be using my rolling pin and polymer clay. This time I actually have coloured polymer clay since they were out of stock of my white. I will be using wire this time to create wire armatures and have my sculptures be more structurally sound. I'll be using aluminum foil to bulk out the armatures, and then my clay sculpting tools and a couple of different wire cutters and tools to shape and move the wire around. To get started on this project, I'm actually going to sketch it out first. So the creature that I saw was the mite, and I'm using references to sketch this. I'll pop them up on screen for you. The mite is a little creature with 3 massive teeth, 2 big bulbous eyes, and he has a little mane. No limbs, just a little tail, and he kind of launches himself at the character I suppose he would bite. And I'll do my best to kind of sketch him up. The only change I would make, or that I'm going to make when I sculpt this, to the character design is to add this little wriggly tongue, because I cannot imagine him without it, and so I'm going to add that to him. That's the only change I plan to make though. So the 2 big round things on his head are eyes. Now instead of drawing the next character, because it's much the same, I will kind of dissect this little critter into how I would sculpt him up. So when I'm sculpting it, as I'm drawing up down the bottom here, I'm just thinking through how I'm going to actually sculpt this. So I think I'm going to put a wire support in the center, and I want to support that tail as well as the body. I'll bulk out the wire with aluminum foil, and thinking about it, the teeth off the front are going to need some support too, because they're pretty big and I don't really want them just adhered via clay. Like, I'd like them to have a bit of a support system. So in a moment I do add on 3 prongs to the front of that are going to support the teeth. The fur-like texture on him, or the mane, I think that would come on later. And when I'm doing the mane, I think that's probably where I would add the eyes. Now what I thought I saw a mouse jumping up to attack the player. What I saw was 3 massive teeth and 2 big ears. So in my head I'm like, oh, they've made this mouse that lives in this dark area, so it's probably blind, it navigates by sound, so it has no eyes, it's got no nose, just these 3 massive teeth and 2 big ears to here. There's even no limbs on it, so it just launches itself like a little worm at things to eat them. And I thought that was such a cute concept, so that is what I thought I saw and what I want to make, but I'll make the mite as well, just to have them both. So now that I've sort of explained and drawn up my concept and how I think I'll put this together, let's hop into actually making some wire armatures. The wire I'm using to make the armature today is, I believe, just a garden wire I picked up at Bunnings. I'm just going to cut off a length here and then work out from there how sort of big I want to make these critters overall. I think they'll be relatively equal in size, honestly. Next step with the armature is to combine the wire. So keeping in mind that I want the 3 front pieces to be sort of in the same spots, because that will be the teeth right up the front. So I'm just going to hold them with another tool so they don't slip and slide all over the place. This wire I can twist with my fingers, it's not too thick for that, so I'm just going to twist this first piece around the longer piece, and then I'll do the same with the second piece. Alright, time to add some shape to this wire armature. So I'm just going to hold it steady with one tool and shape it with another. Just moving these 3 front wires into the position I expect to be okay for the teeth or the fangs to sit at. Time to add some foil to bulk this out, and the overall shape will become more understandable now. You'll be able to see what I was thinking in terms of the pose and the shape of the body while I was bending that wire. So I'm just going to smush on tin foil, and I'll keep adding to this until I bulk it out to a point where I'm happy with it. So I've just kept layering the tin foil and shaping it as I went. Pretty happy with this now. You can see where those teeth will sit, how thick the little body is, and that I've left plenty of space at the front there so that I can do an open mouth with the clay. Alright, I'm going to move on to the mouse's body. Exactly same process, so I'll speed through this. I'm happy with the mouse now, so let's move on to the next stage. Just getting this drawn up, basically trying to work out where this sword's actually going to stop. And I've got Hornet's legs there, and then that line that would be the center of her body. And if I look at the imagery, her head is like almost the same length as her full body. So it's going to be kind of a big head on here. And then now that I've got the head on, I'm just going to add on sort of how the cape sits. I have no idea what the body looks like under the cape, and I don't plan to like create the body and put the cape on top. So it's not really going to matter. It's just going to be bulk underneath of there anyway. I've just adjusted the legs to sit more how I would expect them to under the cape. And this is going to be the armature I'll make. So I want it to be able to support the head and go all the way through the legs as well. Now off screen I've drawn Knight into the space and he will be facing Hornet, so his back would be to me from this angle of the scene. So I'm happy with this little sketch of him. On the side here I'm just going to sketch up the armature for him as well. Just continuing on drawing the scene, adding in some more things there I think will be fun to sculpt. Okay, I'm happy with that for now. I can add more to it when I'm actually making it. It'll be sort of like a enclosed walkway that like he's walking onto the path and she's at the end. While I have my wire and wire tools out, I'm going to make up the armatures for them as well. It follows the exact same process that I used for the Mite and Mitey Mouse. I'm just going to cut different lengths of wire depending on who I'm creating an armature for. This first one will be for Hornet, and then I will do the Knight next. And I've bulked both of them out with foil at this point. I'm not too certain how thick I want the horns and legs and things to be, so I'm just taking it easy on the foil on those. Just comparing them to my images, and I think proportion wise and everything, they're looking pretty good. They're a bit larger than what I would have expected to make them, because to fit them into this scene, the scene's gonna have to be pretty big. I did limited research in terms of looking things up because I was excited to get into making them, so I'm happy with how they're looking in comparison to my drawing, and I think I'll move forward with these two and Mite and Mitey Mouse and get some clay onto them. Starting off with Knight and Hornet, I'm just going to roll some clay fairly thin. I don't want it too bulky because this is just my base layer that I'm going to work on top of. So just cutting this thinner clay up, I'm just going to start layering that over the foil. For him, I do want to keep his head and body separate for now, just so that I can make sure the angle of the head and everything is what I'm wanting it to be. For Hornet, I'm going to do the same process of just layering this clay up on top of Hornet. I'm not sure how far I'm going to go down the legs because it's not the easiest thing to layer onto the wire. Now that she's all covered up, more or less, I will start the smoothing process. And she's fairly smooth now. I'm not worried about this body shape much at all, just keeping in mind that it's going to be covered fully by the cloak that she wears. The tops of her legs, I don't think even stick out. I think it's just like from the knees forward. Time for Mite and Mitey Mouse to get some clay. Same process as the other ones. I'll roll out some clay fairly thin and I'm just going to coat them. I won't be coating the tails or the teeth at this point for the same reason again. I don't think the clay is going to stick very well on that wire for this first bake. So I'll get the bodies covered and then I'll deal with those afterwards. Alright, we've got one smooth little fella here. So this one's the Mite. He can sit up here while I work on Mitey Mouse. I did manage to get the clay to go further up Mitey Mouse's tail. I'm happy with the body shape, and at this point I think it would probably be best for me to get some ears onto Mitey Mouse because there's no eyes, there's no snout or anything else. The ears, I don't want them to be solid round circles. I want them to look like big mouse ears. So I think if I just do like a fairly thin sort of disc shape where I want the ears to sit, they'll give me a great base to build on top of for future layers. So I'm going to do that now. I hope at this point you're kind of seeing the mouse aesthetic of it. I have Mitey Mouse and Mite back out of the oven now. You can see they're nice and solid, so I've got a nice solid base to work upon. I also have Knight and Hornet back out as well. So everything's nice and solid now, but just considering how long it's taken me to do armatures, sketching, and just getting on that base layer of clay, I'm going to focus on Mite and Mighty Mouse for this video, and I'll come back to Hornet and Knight in a later video. So moving on with Mouse and Mighty Mouse. I've got this great base to work on now. What I need to do is really refine the shape of the body, add on the tail. I think at this point I can probably add on the teeth as well, at least to get the base shape of teeth on there. I can probably also work on adding in that mouth shape too. For the Mite, the eyes and the mane will come later, and for the Mouse I'll work on those same things. And I am almost completely out of my white clay. I think this is all I have left, so I'm going to move on to using this brown clay that is in the coloured clays, and we'll see how that goes. This brown clay is a lot softer and more malleable. It's a lot more malleable than the white clay, like very quickly, a lot more malleable. Alright, let's keep going with bulking out this body. We'll start to get that mouth shape in soon too, as well as those teeth. I'm going to do the teeth in this sort of bone colour. Working on Mighty Mouse now. Let's fix up that tail, bulk out the body, add on some teeth, and get that mouth shape in place. Mite has actually been in the oven and should be cool enough for me to check out how he's looking. Okay, I actually popped Mighty Mouse in the oven too before I came back to filming today. So Mighty Mouse is nice and solid now with his teeth, tail and mouth shape on. One of those teeth is way too curved as well. To fix up the shape of the teeth, I'm just going to shave them down gently and very slowly with some X-Acto knives. Mite's teeth are looking a lot better in terms of shape now. They're starting now to resemble my image a lot more, and they are starting to look quite different from each other, aside from Mighty Mouse having big ears. We've got the different tail lengths. Mighty Mouse has a longer, slimmer body. Mite is a chunkier little fellow. Alright, I'm going to use some foil just to create some little spheres, and I will coat them in a thin layer of clay and bake them, and they will be his eyes. And it's time now to put in the first layer of what will be his little mane, or his little like fur tufts around his head. There are several ways I could have done this, but I think just applying a sheet and then like shaping off the ends was the best way for me to do it. In this instance, I'm going to try something a little different on the mouse. Alright, I'm going to plonk those eyes on top now while everything's wet still, and I can smooth them on a little bit. And I'm going to pop both of them in the oven now. New day, here is Mite and Mighty Mouse all baked. I did add some additional tufts onto Mite's head and worked on his mouth a lot more as well. So he got the shape of his mouth, some of the ridges of his gums and his little tongue put in. And I'm just going to keep adding more and more tufts on. I have had a couple little breakages, you can see there, where I've had to add the yellow clay on top of the brown, and I'm feeling really happy with how he's looking overall. But it is time for him to go in the oven. While he's in the oven, I am going to work on Mighty Mouse a bit more. I want to bulk out this body, smooth everything out, and also start working on that mane. Once I've got it all smooth, I'm going to begin texturing it just with this pointed tool, the same way that I textured my derpy tiger that I made from K-pop Demon Hunters. I was really happy with how that fur texture looked once I'd done it all over the body, so that's my plan here. Alright, I'm happy with that fur texturing. At this point the ears are very thin. I do want to thicken them up a little bit, so I'm just going to add a layer of clay onto both, smooth that out and get it to a shape where I'm happy with it. Okay, both ears are done, fur texture's done, and Mite is back out of the oven. So Mite's mane is nice and solid now. For some reason the tip of his tail did snap off. I did have him precariously balanced on his eyeballs and the tip of his tail, just so that I could get this carapace that I sculpted on up and over his back and tail to bake at the same time as all of his mane. And then I'm going to work on his mouth shape a little bit more, just bringing out that bottom jaw a touch. Mighty Mouse is now back from the oven, looking nice and solid, and I think I'll get to work on the mane for Mighty Mouse neck as well as the mouth, and just continuing. I'll see how I go, but probably continuing that fur texture up the tail as well. Mite is also out of the oven. Didn't have as many breakages this time, just a couple little ones where the weight of the body was sitting on them, so I'll resculpt those. Let's do the mane on the mouse now. I'm going to do it differently to how I did the mane on Mite. I'm going to use these little, I guess like little sausages, little worms of clay. I'm just going to shift them around and sort of place them where I want them. I'm going to keep them pretty thick for this iteration since they're the base ones. And then I'll be thinning them out as I move up to create like a very tufty looking little mane for the mouse. Alright, I'll be back once I have bulked out Mousie's mane. Mouse is all baked now, and you can see how that mane is looking. Lots of little wrigglies. We're moving on to the pink of our clays. I'm loving how this tail is looking. It is reminding me of a dragon fruit, I think. That's baked now. I'm loving how it's looking. I'm going to work on Mouse's mouth this time, filling that in and getting some good textures happening in there. I do want to do different gum ridges than what I did for Mite. Alright, I've been looking at this mane the whole time I've been smoothing the inside of that mouth out, and I like it as it is, but it's similar to Mite's, and I kind of want it to look more like the tail, more like those bigger tufts that I can then put some fur texture on. So I hope no one gets too mad at this, but I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to cut this mane off. At the end you can tell me if you thought this first iteration of mane was better or if the second is better. Now I've made those ridges inside of Mouse's mouth, just how I described doing them. I've also added a little tongue on, and I did a couple ridges at the bottom too, so I left Mouse's gum ridges quite sharp looking. And coming back in now, I have added the mane back on in the same way that I did the tail, the little tail tufts. I did that for the mane as well, and I've just textured that with the fur texture too. I think overall this is a lot more cohesive. I'm still getting that like wriggly tufty look that I was liking, but I also have that fur texturing coming in, and I'm really happy with how this is looking. The last thing really to do for Mouse is sort the ears out. So I do want to texture the back of the ears at least. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to smooth out the fronts as well, so I'll just do my best to add the clay in. This would have been easier before the mane. Didn't think of that. And that's all done now. So it is time for Mouse to go in the oven again, and here is Mouse back out of the oven. Ears are textured. We have that lovely gummy mouth with the little tongue, the teeth, texturing all over the body, up the tail and into those tail tufts as well. So Mouse is done at this point for sculpting as well. So now that both of them are done, I can move on to painting. Mite is all done as well. Finally, we're up to painting, and the colours I'll be using to paint these two characters will be white, black. I'm going to use Scarlet Lake Red, Cadmium Yellow Hue, and Ultramarine Deep Blue. And I will also later potentially use a Burnt Umber Brown. These paints are by Creative Place. They're just the artist collection, and these are the same ones I've used in previous sculpting videos. To start off, I have mixed up some colours off camera, and these are just going to be my starting colours to block out the colours I want and where I want them, and also to help me cover up the multitude of colours that are already there from the clay. So this first layer of colours will not be the final set of colours. Referring back to Mite's character art, for Mouse, I want to head more towards browns than the grey tones that I'm seeing in Mite. So I am going to work on Mouse using mainly browns, and it will probably be a warmer colour palette overall for Mouse. So I'll lay down these base coats and then start refining my colours a bit more. Alright, as you can see, I've done a few coats on both Mouse and Mite. Mouse has these warm brown tones happening and that lovely little pink mouth, nice white teeth. I'm working on the pink in the ears, while Mite is much more desaturated in the colours. I think this brown tone on the body is just too warm at the moment. I'm liking the colour of his mane. His teeth are that sort of off-white, and the pink of the mouth is quite desaturated as well. But I do want some more definition happening overall. So I'll continue adding detail. Alright, I'm going to add some highlights to Mite's carapace. I just want to really show off that there are layers to this, so using a little bit of black to highlight the shadows and then a much paler version of the base color to highlight the edges, and I sort of just want to create a nice little gradient back from the highlighted edge into the black of the shadow. So I'm just going to work on that till I'm happy with it, still adding minor changes and details to both of them. Okay, at this stage I am really happy with both Mite and Mouse. I just want to add these final little highlights, just making sure that where any light would hit on Mite's mane is highlighted. It's time to have a look at them finished. And here are the finished Mite from Holy Knight Silksong, and what I thought I saw in Holy Knight Silksong, Mitey Mouse. What do you think? Did you prefer Mitey Mouse's original mane, or do you like how he turned out? I'm really happy with them. Mite is a touch more grayscale than I expected him to be, but I still think the colours work for him. He's really cute, and I'm really happy with their little tongues. I think that came out so cute. How do you think I went recreating a character from a video game? Because I would love to do this again, and I definitely have plans to finish off Hornet and Knight in their own video. Given how big their armatures turned out, I do think that the landscape, the stand that I want to create for them, may be its own video as well, because that's going to be quite large, and hopefully I can make it quite detailed. Who's your favourite out of the two? Mitey Mouse or Mite? Let me know down below. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. That's it from me, and I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.